Oh, I didn't talk about the hostages. God, how did I not talk about the hostages? Thank you, Neil. I guess I was so upset about Ukraine that I forgot that I was so upset about Israel and the hostages. All right, so Hamas is accelerating the release of hostages in the phase one. It wants to get to phase two. It does not want Israel to step back in. I think it does fear that Israel going back in might actually, they will take it more seriously and actually eviscerate them. At the end of the day, Hamas is stronger than Israel thought, but weaker in the end, quite weak, and is worried about how they can sustain themselves, and therefore they don't want a renewal of the fighting yet. One day, but not yet. So they are accelerating the release of the hostages. So they announced today that they are releasing, I think it's 4 bodies on Thursday. So dead hostages, which is part of the deal. They're releasing 6 live hostages on Saturday, and then they'll release another 4 bodies after that. Among the dead hostages that they are releasing are the mother and 2 babies. When they were taken, I think they were less than 6 months old and 2 years old. They would have been 4 and 2 now, but they are both children, both babies are dead, as is the mother. The father was released earlier, and he wasn't with the mother and children. How they died is unclear. We don't know. But look, I mean, I know this is for everybody breaking news, but we've known they were dead for a long time. Israeli intelligence has known this. Israelis have known this. The family was told this. Everybody held up hope that they were somehow alive. But everybody's really, if you face reality, they have known that they were dead. So those cute baby pictures on the posters that demonstrators in the US and in Europe love to tear down, those babies are gone. They were killed. And they were murdered by Hamas. One way or another, they were murdered by Hamas. I don't know what more. I mean, I know everybody's horrified, and you should be. But the real horror is October 7th. The babies that were burnt, shot, killed in safe rooms, in hideouts, in front of their parents. I mean, it's horrible that these 2 babies are dead because there was some hope they could still be alive. But it's 2 more babies, children, that Hamas has murdered October 7th and since. These are monsters. By the way, from what we know, the woman and the babies were not taken hostage by Hamas. They were taken hostage by Gazan civilians who crossed over the border in an opportunistic rape and murder and looting spree. The blood is on the hands of really all Gazans, but certainly a majority of Gazans. This is not a war with Hamas, and never was. This was a war with the Palestinians. This is a war with Gaza. Sadly, it hasn't been won. Gazans have not shown any indication they are defeated. Hamas might be weak. Gaza is not. Its commitment to destroy Israel is not. Its commitment to rape, pillage, and murder again is not. And, you know, I don't know where things go from here. I'm still convinced that Trump will go to Saudi Arabia to meet with Putin and to meet with MBS, and he will come back with Saudi Arabia basically forcing a deal in Israel that creates a disaster long-term for Israel. I think the Trump Gaza building plan is like a crazy, what the hell, let's launch an idea out there. I don't think he's serious about it for one iota, 1 second. There's no way it's going to happen. What is really going to happen is a major compromise. And you can see that by repeated reports in Israeli media that every time Netanyahu wants to get tough, it is Witkoff, Trump's delegate to the Middle East, who shows up and gives the riot act to Netanyahu and pulls him straight and forces him back to the negotiating table. So Israel is negotiating with the murderers of babies. Israel is negotiating with rapists. Israel is negotiating with mass murderers. Israel is cutting a deal with these people and will continue to cut a deal with these people. And who will pay for that deal? Well, Israelis in generations to come. And Palestinians, by the way, will pay for it as well, because they're the ones who die in the greatest numbers, and they don't have to die. With a proper victory over them, they would change. It's like the Japanese changed and the Nazis changed. The Palestinians could change. But first, they need to be defeated. First, they need to be defeated. Hamas have always been savages. They're no less savages today, and they will be no less savages tomorrow. Their ideology, their philosophy, their religion, are all those of savages. Hamas would have to stop being Hamas to not be savages anymore. Israelis, Israel now is buying into the Trump thing of evacuating or sending all the Gazans out of Gaza, sending them somewhere, and nobody can say where. They say they're setting up the infrastructure for making that happen. It ain't happening, people. Once Trump meets MBS, it's over. MBS, just like Putin, will bulldoze Trump into the Saudi peace plan and the Saudi solution for this. It ain't happening. And unfortunately, Israel is as infected with weakness and altruism, maybe a little less, but almost as infected as America is. And I don't know. We'll see. With the babies' bodies coming back home, maybe Netanyahu's popularity will finally plummet. Maybe finally Israel will start thinking about somebody actually tough to put in the prime minister's position, somebody who will actually do what Israel needs done. Right? So, yeah, that's where we're going. I don't know where you get this, Boaz. Boaz says, really, no one can live now in Gaza. That's just not true. It's just zero truth to that. There's still water flowing into Gaza. There's still electricity in Gaza. There's still internet service and cell phone coverage in Gaza. They have tents. Israel is supplying mobile homes and bringing them into Gaza. And Egypt and the Saudis have a plan on how to rebuild Gaza that does not involve moving the Gazans out of Gaza. And it's completely doable. It's not a problem. There was no place to live in Tokyo when Tokyo was rebuilt. There was no place to live in Dresden when Dresden was rebuilt. You have no concept of how people can live if you think nobody can live in Gaza anymore. Wall Street Journal says it will take 20 years to clean up the destruction. The Wall Street Journal doesn't know what it's talking about. Maybe its standards, the Wall Street Journal standards, are the standards used by Boston, where it's going to take them 20 years to build a train station. But no, Gaza could be rebuilt quickly relatively quickly and without having to evacuate any of the people in Gaza. And all you need to do is bring in a couple of Chinese construction companies, and I'm not kidding. Not kidding. They would clear the place up. They would grind all that stuff into nothing, and they would rebuild in a few years. It would all be back. People can live in a tent for decades. People have lived in shacks in refugee camps in Lebanon. The Palestinians have lived in shacks in refugee camps in Lebanon since 1970. You have no sense of people's ability to survive under adverse conditions. No sense, which is surprising. But anyway, you don't have to believe me. You just have to wait and see my predictions come true. All I ask is when they do come true, that you acknowledge I was right here on the chat. That's all I'm asking for.